Welcome to An Epic World brought to you by Quadrian. I'm your host, Courtney Fingar, and this is our interview series that highlights innovators, thought leaders, and trailblazers who are driving transformational innovation in industries and economies worldwide. Quadrian is focused on inspiring epic growth by leveraging the combined forces of venture investment, foreign direct investment, and special economic zones. As part of our mission, Quadrian supports innovative founder-led startups as they scale up globally. One of our inspirational founders that we work with is Kaja Stepnowska, co-founder of Momo Coffee. I'm really happy to have you here, Kaja. How are you doing? And welcome to the show.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you. Such a warm welcome.
Great. Well, first of all, let's start with your origin story if we can. Tell us about Momo. When was it founded? What was the inspiration? And where does it stand today? And I guess most importantly, what do you do?
Momo Coffee democratizes access to specialty coffee to the masses. Using technology, we can offer a very good quality product, a specialty grade cup of coffee, uh, at a discount of a price or at a substantial difference versus traditional chains such as Starbucks. And we can do that by operating under a different operating model. Mama was founded in the summer of 2023, together with my husband, Pablo Lopez. He, at that point, was at a venture capital fund looking to switch careers and looking to be an entrepreneur and start up his own business, and basically finding inspiration in the portfolio company of a fund that he invested in, as well as speaking with our friends here in Mexico City who run coffee shops. What really sold him was precisely a small format, grab and go, technology enabled coffee opportunity where you could open many chains and really precisely offer a specialty grade coffee at a fraction of its price. I was, I guess, the first person who he sold the idea to, because it really inspired me and said, actually, you know what? I really believe in what you want to build. Let me step away from my family business where I was working at that point, and let's build it together. And this is how Momo Coffee was born.
Excellent. So you're based in Mexico City. I assume that's, I guess, where you started your expansion from. Are you active around Mexico? Have you started scaling up around Latin America? What's your status of where you are today?
Although the company was born in the summer of last year, it took actually a lot of preparation and building the technology and building the team and precisely building the team for a couple of months. And our first store opened in Mexico City in the summer of this year. And since then, we've opened a few more locations. We currently have 3.5 permanent locations in Mexico City. Mexico City is the place that we're currently focused on. Our ambitions, however, are global, and precisely with Quadrian, we hope to take it to Europe someday. For now, though, we are making sure the stores are excellent here in Mexico City.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the opening of the first store. I mean, that in itself is a landmark for such a young company. And I know it's not easy getting any business off the ground. What particular challenges have you and your partner faced in trying to get things operational, and how did you overcome them?
Well, first of all, thank you. And I think our biggest challenge initially was a bit of a cold start problem with the real estate, and Mexico City being very much of a landlord's market. We were submitting offers for locations that we really liked, and we were not getting accepted because what we could show was Momo Coffee on a PowerPoint, what we wanted to build, what we wanted to design, what we wanted to invest in. And we had to sell the landlords on the idea of how we were actually going to make the coffee world different. And initially it was hard precisely because if a landlord had an offer from us or from somebody else who already had an established business who could show to their another location where they were already working, we were just not getting accepted. Um, what we decided to do, therefore, was we said, no matter what, we just need to open. It doesn't need to be a prime location. It just needs to be in location. We need to have a place where we can start operating, where we can start making mistakes, where we can establish our brand, where we can precisely show to others um, what we are building. And we found precisely a location where the rent was quite cheap. We said there the although it is precisely not a very high traffic area, which we wanted from the get-go, we said this is precisely a great place where we can start making those mistakes, where it should be easy enough to break even operationally, financially, and use that place as a platform, as a stepping stone for other locations. And that's exactly what happened. Thankfully, the first location, um, when it's opened its doors within the first month of opening, it was already profitable. It was doing great, and not only that, but that same week of opening the first Momo, we were able to sign a second lease for a second Momo, precisely given the fact that we already had a business to show. And just to give you a bit of a um, view of how dramatic that change is, of having a location versus not. Back in February, we submitted an offer for a building where we wanted to put another Momo. We got the building said no, and earlier in November, we submitted an offer for the same building, a better location within that building. We said we would pay less rent, and we got accepted.
Yeah, I guess that goes to show that those first hurdles are always the hardest ones, and it becomes a little bit chicken and egg situation because how do you prove you can succeed without people giving you the chance to succeed?
Exactly. Exactly. That was exactly the case.
But it seems you've solved that particular hurdle, and the real estate situation is a very common challenge with companies that have a bricks and mortar aspect to the business. And especially I assume in a large metropolis like Mexico City, there's a similar issue in many European capitals, which is the affordability of the leasing.
Exactly. Exactly. And considering our different business model, considering the fact that we are looking for very small spaces, um, I mean, just to give you a perspective, our first location is less than 15 square meters. Since then, we had signed leases for 30 square meters, 28, and we're negotiating one that is 12. So very, very small locations, uh, but we do need to be very diligent with how much we pay in rent because that is a huge operating cost for us.
Absolutely. Now that you're operational, what kind of feedback do you get from customers? And do you have an ideal kind of profile of who's really passionate about your product?
That is actually really funny because we had a theory or we had an assumption of hypothesis who our customers would be. We were thinking a lot of office millennial workers who would stop for their cup of coffee on the way to the office or step out of the office to go for a momo. And we realized that actually that our branding, quite dog focused and and young, appeals to a lot of Gen Zs, appeals to a lot of millennials, and it's not necessarily a place you go for a cup of coffee on the go from the office, but it can be a destination where people travel from other areas of the city to go for their momo, to go for not only their specialty cup of coffee that is affordable, but also for a innovative drink that we've created, um, and uh, and we're seeing a little bit more of a cult following. And of course, it's very difficult to make every individual happy. And this is, I think, where we are very conscious of the fact that we are um, a, a retail business where we deal with individuals, and sometimes seeing if they like the product or not is a matter just of a personal taste. But interestingly enough, the fact that we're not necessarily seeing all our customers be office workers in their suits coming for a momo, but precisely a slightly different demographic lets us play a little with where we open our following locations, and see if we want to focus maybe on more um, fitness studios and being close to fitness studios. Do we want to be more in areas that are more gentrified and more fun and hipster, or are we looking for more residential areas where we see a lot of traffic over the weekends? Um, Still working on that. It's definitely an evolving animal.
I was going to ask if we could consider it a hipster kind of, outlet, but you used the word first. Hipsters do love their coffee, so that's a total match made in heaven.
It's interesting because on one hand, our brand is mm, it doesn't look very hipster. The branding itself, our logo, our cups. On the other hand, the content that we publish or that others publish about us, um, can have some of that feeling, or can be more of a lifestyle situation. But that's why I'm saying I think it's still very much evolving. We're a young company, and we are definitely happy to see that the customers seek us out, and be having a hypothesis who your customers are, and then seeing a slightly different profile come in. I think was actually very interesting, and we didn't necessarily perceive it as bad. On the reverse, it was actually, huh, okay, let's learn something new about our company.
Yeah, and it's all about adapting anyway once you get that initial feedback in terms of who's showing up, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, what would you count as your biggest achievement to date? What are you really proud of? And what are your priorities for 2025? What can we expect next?
I think opening 3 proper locations in 6 months, or in less than that, and on top of that, doing some pop-ups and opening what we call a half store, which is a permanent fixture inside another business, is huge for us. And we've definitely been very focused on opening multiple stores quickly. Seeing the initial sales volumes in all of them, has been very reassuring that there is a demand for our product, and that we're doing something right. So I think our biggest achievement this year is precisely um, s- start operating and scaling profitably quickly. In terms of 2025, what we're looking for is um, increasing our capital funding, and building out our tech way more than where it currently is, and opening more locations throughout Mexico City. For now, still Mexico City.
Well, I'm waiting on you to come open one in London so I can be one of your potentially hipster customers. Um, let's before we wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit about the relationship with Quadrian. What were you kind of looking for out of the partnership, and what have you gained from it? How has that relationship manifested itself?
Um, I think our relationship with Quadrian and specifically with Kareem is really a lot of fun, and it's always fun to catch up and see where we're going, where we are going, where Quadrian is going, and where can our paths converge. And what I'm really looking forward to is precisely right now building a very good brand, an excellent brand here in Mexico City, but um, maybe not in 2025, but in the following years, take it globally. And I think precisely at that point, being that little example of a LATAM startup coming to Europe with Quadrian is something that we will be looking for. I know that Cream also has a lot of ambitions precisely within Europe, and the ties between LATAM and Europe, which are not necessarily as frequent as you'd think, is where we see a lot of value and something that we're really excited about.
Absolutely, those synergies between, LATAM and Europe, and then beyond that is definitely a kinda sweet spot of Quadrium and our CEO, Karim Palmieri. So we'll leave it there. Kaya, thank you so much for your time. It was really great to speak with you and learn more about it. Now I'm craving some coffee. I wish I had some of yours here, but next time, I hope we meet somewhere, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you, thank you. Next time I'm in London, I'll bring you a Momo Coffee bag of beans.
Promise me. Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in to this latest episode of An Epic World. Join us next time to see which innovators we uncover and which innovation hotspots around the world we will take you to. Thank you.